told you? Who told you? Who told you? You what? God design, God design.
Good evening. Good evening, Boerboel. What's going on, everyone? I'm your host. Welcome to the Boerboel Show. I'm your host, Jordan Pittman with Exotic Boerboels. And on this show, we discuss the Boerboel, the breed that we love, the breed that's true to our hearts, that we're extremely passionate about, the best dog in the world, the African Boerboel. Thank you for joining. I hope everyone is returning safe from a great, productive week. This week, we did a great show preparation. We are very excited, eagerly anticipating the show coming up on the 22nd, the Judgment Day show. We're going to be there, booth number 38. We're calling out all Boerboels in the area to come stand with us and represent for the breed at one of the biggest shows in the Midwest. They've been preparing for this over a year. $20,000 is the grand prize. So we plan to show up and show out at this event coming up on the 22nd, next Saturday. We hyperspeed preparation for that. So today we wanted to discuss a couple of things. We got plenty of new updates on the website. We got excited about these puppies that we got on the ground with Feeney's daughter, Pinky. And we also have the Sheba puppies on the ground. So we're excited about that. They're coming along really good. We're going to show a couple pictures and some videos of those pups, recent pictures. We also going to discuss Boerboel excellence and how do we achieve that. We're going to give some examples of the Boerboel excellence and how we build on the stepping stones to reach our ultimate potential. So this is some really good information that you can use to further your development of your breeding program or just the relationship that you have with your dogs. And a lot of what we do, you have seen before, is based off the school of thought of Cesar Millan with the pack mentality. We feel that the Boerboel thrives in the pack situation, in the pack environment, because they're social creatures and they need that interaction. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to show some examples, and we want to get into reading and assessing the Boerboel behavior. I think that it's important to highlight because a lot of what the dogs are going to do is communicating through the body language. So we have to be able to interpret this body language in order to further our relationships and build it as the strongest as it can possibly be with our dog. And how do we go about doing that? Well, a lot of it is going to come from observation and understanding the signs. So I felt like the other day, I felt it was good. We had a nice video session with Cleveland, which is an adult Boerboel. He comes from the breeding between a Feeney and LaAndre Black Teddy. He's about 17, 18 months now, and he hasn't not yet reached peak maturity. Same with Balto. We had a great session with him, those two dogs together. So I felt that was a good opportunity to highlight the temperament of the breed. Those dogs need to be celebrated and championed. This is one of the things that we breed for when we're talking about the complete Boerboel. We're saying we're looking for a dog that is capable of fitting in any situations, whether it be a family dynamics, and still capable of protecting with a balanced and smooth temperament. The dog should be approachable. The dog should be loving and beautiful, yet imposing. So it's a combination of things that we do to get there. And that's why we run the program the way that we do, by having dogs in homes where you can really get to see the full dogs at temperament blossom into his complete character, because the dog it has a relationship with people, and it's important for them to fit in the civil society. So how do we achieve that? So we will discuss that today. So stay tuned and keep up. If you got questions, we got answers. Feel free to chime in, and we will answer the questions, the comments. They'll address the questions in the comments towards the end of the show. So we'll go ahead and get started. Well, first, let's get into this video. So the other day we had, this is going to be a good information because this is going to be situations that you're going to run into whether you have a Boerboel or not. It's good to understand about this dog behaviors and how to avoid situations that could be negative, situations that could result in injury, situations that could result in loss. And if you understand the dog's nature and psychology, you can avoid that. So how do we do that? Well, I'm gonna get into this video. First, you always gonna have, especially when your dog is out, opportunities for socialization, right? And I call this opportunity for socialization because you can build on these experiences when the dog is in public. So it may not be direct where the dog is communicating the same way that we may socialize, but it's a chance for the dog to build on experience in the public and these settings. So what you do, you take the dog out and you want to expose your dog in as many different situations as you can. And what happens is you get the dog to become familiar with being in unfamiliar situations. So they become confident when things seem unusual because nothing is out of the norm. They come across new and different situations all the time. And what you're doing is building on your dog's adaptability. So we take Balto out, and because he is the type of dog that he is, strikingly beautiful and incredibly imposing, and he just commands attention wherever he goes, he draws the crowd. We want the dog to be approachable, and he is. So he would be a threat if we had his situation, and then he still maintains his protective instincts when he's at home, which is key for him to be an effective dog. But at the same time, he's also friendly and approachable and able to engage with the community and really a true ambassador of the breed. So we really like that about Balto, and I think that that's important that you have that because it brings a certain level of balance. We want it's important that you're not having to put your dog away, in my personal preference, because I feel that the dog is not capable of performing when you have the dog locked away. You want to have your dog by your side at all times. And being able to have dogs in civil situations where they grow up in families allows us to do that. So I'm going to go over this video right here, share with you all. If you haven't seen it, I really thought it was a great video. We're going to start it off, and we're just going to try to go over some of the behaviors that we witnessed in the video. Yes, sir. Yes, you did. You made it in time, family. So we're going to go into this video. We're going to show this video here. So I thought that this was a great video with Balto, and you can see in the beginning where a lot of sniffing is going on, posturing, right? And initially, this is the dog's first 2 times meeting each other, right? So you see both dogs are off leash, or the leash is on the ground, because what we have to do, I'm gonna pause it right there. All the dogs' leashes, we got the one dog with the extension leash, but you see at this point right here, the dogs are off leash. Now, it's important to drop the leash and allow the dog to meet the other dog. It's important so that you don't activate the dog's fight or flight instinct. But when the leash is in hand, you set boundaries for this immediate territory, a perimeter, where the dog has to make a decision, and you make the dog uncomfortable, where you put the dog under pressure. So it's important to drop the leash to let the dog know that he doesn't have to be defensive, or he doesn't have to hold this position. He's free to investigate. He can escape. He can maneuver, and that will make the dog more relaxed, and that'll make the situation more natural. You have to be prepared, though. Now, this is just, let me say this also. This is just what I do with my dogs, okay? This is not something that I'm saying substitute for training, but this is just an example of socialization. This is what I recommend. And you let the dog, you got to know your dog at the same time. You don't want to do this with a dog and you know that your dog is aggressive. You know that your dog is leash sensitive or leash aggressive. You're going to, so I always recommend you release the leash and let the dogs go through their natural progression of getting to know each other. They're going to do a series of sniffs where I sniff you, you sniff me. You check me out. We're gonna both stand and look real big. So let's continue with the video a little bit. We're gonna both kind of stand and look real big. We're gonna take turns. Maybe see. So you see the smaller dog is going to do the mounting. He jumps up. So okay, you see him keep on doing an attempt to mount. So he's trying to initiate some physical contact. So you see, I let Balto go right here, and I told bruh, just drop the leash. Let the dogs do what they do. So he unhooked the dog. Now you see right here what they're doing is posturing. This is the initial engagement. This is the initial interaction. And so you see Balto standing big. He's erect. The hair on the back of his neck is up. He's trying to show that he's big, strong dog, not type of dog that you want to tangle with, not the type of dog that you want to have a problem with. And the other dog is looking at him, and you see he evades the eye contact. So he's turning his head away, and Roberto is staring him down, and he's saying it's a form of submission. Okay, you're the big dog, you got it. So you're interpreting as a me, I'm able to interpret this behavior right as it's happening. So I know that this is there's no threat, or I don't have to be cautious of the dogs getting into a fight because I'm reading, interpreting the dog behavior. And because so you see the smaller dog, and also I'm confident in my dog's ability, and I'm confident that I'm in my ability to be able to handle a situation if it arises. So we'll get to that also. But what the main point is to be able, let's continue into this behavior. So now Balto is giving him a chance to hold his position and saying, well, look, I'm not threatening either. So it's not like an engaged, locked in, where he locks in and they're just doing this intense stare down where neither one of the dogs want to submit. You got both dogs averting the attention from the other dog's eyes, where so it's not like, okay, it's not a confrontation. It's like, okay, I'll submit now, you submit, and they taking turns. It's not like, okay, we got a beef. Why are you staring at me? And I'm not staring at you. You know, this is one of those kind of things. He's staring at him, and then he looks away. And then he looks back. I'm not. What you looking at? Oh, I'm not looking at you. And then he looks away. One of those type of situations. I don't know if we ever had that, in your life when you was in high school or junior high school or whatever. But that's the kind of behavior of animals, and what dogs do is similar, and humans also do it because we are also animals. But check this out. So the dogs are staring down. You see the stiffness in the tails. They both posturing. Balto's going around for a sniff. So what you want to do? Let me smell you. Let me sniff this ground that you've been stepping up. And then he turns his back to the dog. Oh, okay, we cool. Let's go ahead and let's walk around. Now he's testing. Let me go back a little bit here. Right here, watch the pit bull. Now what he's doing is testing the boundaries. right? He noticed that big dog. He's a big dog. Look at the posture of the tails. They both have kind of relaxed. And so you see he's now when he's leaning his nose over, that's like kind of bumping shoulders, where he's initiating a little bit of physical contact. Balto can feel that he doesn't feel threatened by that. And he's doing it in a light and playful way, but he's seeing how far he can go. It's kind of like with Balto, what is he willing to accept? So he's some really extremely dominant dogs won't allow another dog or a lesser dog to do that, a younger dog. So let's continue a little bit. And you see he's checking. Now the dogs are smart too. He's checking with us to see what we're looking at. This guy's kind of sneaky. He's kind of slick. See him looking at me, and then he's checking on Balto, and he's kind of like, what am I doing? You know, making sure that he's within boundaries. So he's not looking now. Here we go again. This is a great example of what I'm talking about. And this is the position that we want to capture when we're taking our dogs and presenting the dogs in the show. You see this alert expression on Cleveland, and you see that he's posturing, he's looking real big. Now, these two dogs have met before. So the pit bull, I don't know his name, but you see his tail is at a medium length. So that's like a neutral state. He's like looking and he's wagging back and forth. He's looking, he's letting him know, here I come in peace. I'm looking, you don't know me, you don't know exactly who I am. Maybe the smell might be coming towards, the wind may be blowing towards the pit bull's direction. So he may have the scent of the other dog first. And that way, maybe why the other dog, Cleveland, is showing this alert position, because he doesn't know yet who this dog is. So this is just posturing at this point. But bruh, they both know each other. They're friends from the neighborhood. They both know each other. But in this situation, if your dog, if you plan on introducing the dogs, the way that you would do this, both parties would drop the leash and you will let the dogs just go by their nature. Because sometimes if you start to approach one dog approaches the other dog on leash, he may become defensive of the owner, and a situation may arise. You may have a confrontation at that point. So let's go through this a little further. So you see Cleveland is still, his tail is stiff and erect. Now he recognizes this the homie, so he's gonna break down, and now he's gonna go into WrestleMania, initiate WrestleMania. You see Red drop the leash, and now the dogs is going into play. Now here we go again, two dogs, they don't know each other, and they kind of like following. He's wondering, hold on, are you investigating? Let's go back on that part right there. So you see that in the beginning, right here, you see Balto is showing interest in the other dog's owner, and then the other dog steps up, wait a minute, and kind of gets in between, and he's posturing at this point. So what he's doing is saying, hey, look, that's my guy. Okay, be careful there. Don't even think about doing nothing. So he's letting Balto know right there. You see the stiffness of the tail, and Balto is just kind of on alert. He's not aggressive. You kind of see that he's not in a threatening position because the hairs are not raised on his back. He hear me calling his name. Now the pit bull is saying like, look, just be cool, play. We're gonna just keep it playful. Now he's saying, okay, now here's another good example. Balto is getting ready to try to put his nose, or he's approaching this midsection of the pit bull, and the pit bull is getting out of the way because that's a very vulnerable position. He can't defend himself with him being mounted like that. So he's not going to allow, because he's a very smaller dog. You see he's in a real weird position. Now Balto is asserting his dominance right here at this stage of the game. And it's important that you understand this behavior so you can assess and read this in your dogs, what's happening. Because in every situation where two dogs meet, you're going to always have one dog is going to be represented as a higher ranking member, and the other dog is going to have to be a lower ranking member. If both dogs are trying to be the alpha or the higher ranking member, that's where you're going to have conflict. So you got to be aware of this. Now, Balto is, when you start seeing the dogs start trying to put their head over top of the other dog, he's asserting dominance. He's saying, look, I'm bigger than you. Look at how strong that I am. Feel this power. Do you see what I can do to you? You feel this strength? And he'll lean on top of the other dog, maybe even place his paw on top of the other dog. That's a situation that could lead to conflict if you got a dog that's got an alpha type of mentality. So then we're gonna go a little further. See how he used his nose. You see how he used his nose. He's using his nose and not allowing to Balto to get over and top of him. He's using his nose and he's pushing Balto away. Okay, he's pushing his face away. Watch him. See that? He's saying, "No, you can't get over me. Like, watch out, you can't get over me." But then you'll see later in the video, I can get on top of you. I'm the one that's gonna get on top of you. So it's one of those situations where see him leaning, putting that paw on top. He's saying, "Man, I'm a big dog. I'm a strong dog. You think you tough?" Balto doesn't see. He gonna respect me. Balto doesn't view neither one of these dogs as a threat. So that was the end of the video. So that's just an example. I'm sure that I was talking fast. I talk fast. I covered a lot. If you can always go back over that and get more if you don't, if you didn't catch all of that, but it was some very valuable information there. And I hope that you was able to follow. I wasn't moving too fast. So what else did we have? Oh, so let's get into this United Boerboel Club. We're gonna open this up for Q&A. So with the United Boerboel Club, here's one of the newest updates, and this is going to be open for everybody. This is something I've been working diligently on. I'm going to share this with everyone. Let me see here. Where we going now? Okay. BoerboelPuppiesForSale.com. This is where we're going to be listing all of the members of the United Boerboel Club's Boerboel puppies. This is going to be featured for United Boerboel Club members. We're going to try to use this platform, BoerboelPuppiesForSale.com, to connect clients with the people that are producing the dogs that we feel is qualified and worthy, or that have members that are interested, that are down with the United Boerboel Club. This is here for you to help you with connecting with the people that are interested in the type of dogs that you're producing, that are being measured, the type of dogs that have the data behind them, that have the health behind them, that have the fitness behind them, that have the longevity, all of the things that we are trying to celebrate within the United Boerboel Club. This is a place for you with the people with the top-notch, high flight dogs. Once you sign up. So we're gonna open this up. This is still in development. Like I said, Picasso didn't paint the Da Vinci, or Michelangelo didn't paint the Shakespeare in that day. Rome wasn't built overnight. It just takes great things take time. It's a long story short. And with that understood, I hope that everyone knows that we're working behind the scenes on everybody's behalf. This is another thing that we bring into the table to offer for the members, because we want to give more than just the average club. So this is going to be a directory where everybody can list their dogs or the puppies that's available within the community, why you produce these dogs, what you thought about the parents. If you don't have a website, if you don't have that web presence, this is for you. You got a place where you can start to establish yourself, especially for the newcomers and the beginners. Boerboel Puppies for Sale. And we want to help you. We're going to give you pointers for taking great pictures of your puppies, how to get the great angles and the great shots, and where it don't take all day and it doesn't take 100 pictures. So we're going to help you with that. We're going to also help you with getting your puppies in the top quality condition, so that we're going to have all of these guides and everything, maps. So it's coming along slowly but surely. And development is happening behind the scenes. We haven't forgot about that. We're going to open it up for questions. Anybody have some questions? I'm going to talk about another thing as a breeder. I want to make sure that everybody understands this. You have to make sure that you take time off. This is a type of thing where you may not get as many breaks as a normal person because dogs need care every single day. And I want everybody that's considering breeding to get this through the understood. It's going to be some very difficult days, and you're going to be exhausted, and it's going to really test your mettle, see what you made of, and the strong going to survive. And things going to get tough. Every day is not going to be a sunny day. Every day is not going to be a rainy day. And you're not going to always have your full strength, but you got to keep going. And you're going to get tired. You're going to be exhausted. And sometimes you're going to want to give up. And that's when you find out if you really are a dog man, if you really are a dog person, if you're really a breeder or not, when the times get tough. Because this will really try you. And especially when you try to be the best at it. So, but I want to encourage anybody that's going through difficult situations in life, keep on pushing. It's a sunny day at the end of the rain. The sun is going to shine. And I truly believe it's always a silver lining in every negative situation. Always look for the good. And make sure, if you feel like you're not getting your worth, maybe you're asking for too much. Humble yourself. Got a question coming in. Thank you very much, Mr. St. Pro. Indeed. I got a question. I want to get the dog, may consider breeding, but don't want to have a ton of dogs. What do you suggest for a hobby breeder? Great question. In a situation like this, I feel like with Boerboels in particular, because they are a great breed, I think that you don't have to have a bunch of dogs. And I think anybody considering breeding should always take into mind that we don't need a bunch of dogs. It's about the quality of the dogs that we do have. And you want to give your dog the best. You want to give your dog the best of everything that you have, the one individual dog. And when you're doing it like that, when you're giving the dog the best that you have, it becomes the best that it can be. And instead of having multiple dogs, you just have one or two. You don't have to have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 4 or even 3. You could just have 2 extremely good dogs that you put the work into, and you document the growth and show as they develop. And you got people interested in your puppies because you showing the dogs, and you showing the dogs, people familiar with the breed, and you showing why they make your life better and how they fit in and the value that they add. That is how you're going to prove their value. And I don't think that you have to have a whole bunch of dogs to have value. You can have just 2 or really even 1 really good dog. If you want it, I would look for a stud dog, and I would go for something that is really extremely good. I would go to, get you a great quality male to stud out. I would go to a breeder, and I would look for the dog that they kept back. And I would try to get that dog, make them an offer that they can't refuse, because nobody should know the breeder's lines better than themselves. And you want the dog, you want a really premium dog, something that is going to command attention. And then you're going to take that one premium dog and you're going to exercise it. You're going to feed it the best foods. You're going to make this dog look stunning. You might even take this dog swimming. You're going to keep him lean and cutting in top physical condition, exercising. You're going to take the dog, just do everything you possibly can, do DNA test, health test, and get the dog quantify his ability, and put this dog on display and show his true value. And that's how I feel like will be the best way for somebody that's interested in pursuing this just as a hobby. That will limit the amount, because you're going to go, if you start to try to get a bunch of dogs, and it's not a flip, it's not like any conventional business where you have a supply, and the more supply that you have, it equals more money. That Boerboels and dog breeding doesn't work like that. It's not about, it's the quality of the individual dogs that you have. Do you have a dog that people want? And that's part of what's going on with NABA. They champion dogs based off of their friendships. It's not because people really want the dogs, where the dogs have these qualities that are really desirable. It's about lining up their friends' pockets. So yeah, I hope that helped. You don't never want a ton of dogs. A ton of dogs really is never fair to the dog. You want to just have what you can afford to care for in a high capacity every single day. You want to give the dog the best that you have to offer. You want to be able to do that day in and day out, and it never becomes a chore or overwhelming. So I hope that helps you. Next question. Will we go over breeding selection? Absolutely. Breeding selection, that may be an episode in itself where we talk about, because that is, you got to have a strict criteria. And I think every breeder should be able to tell you why we put these two dogs together. I see, so one of the biggest things that I see, one of the greatest mistakes. Yes, that is true. I'm going to really get on that because that's one of my biggest pet peeves. It's a whole episode. Yeah. Just going over breeding selection, but I'll touch on it just a little bit since you asked. Breeding selection is every breeder should be breeding towards a purpose or goal, right? It should be an ideal dog that they're trying to create. So your selection process or criteria is based off of your end goal. What are you trying to bring out in the next generation that you see or desire in this current generation? And that's how you're going to select your breeding dogs. It's based off of, how can I improve this dog, make it a better dog for me? And that's going to identify your brand or give your meaning to your breeding program. And so that's so sometimes, you got for example, you may have a working style breeder where they're looking for dogs with a lot more energy. So they may look at puppies, and they may look for the puppy with the highest energy, the most active puppy, the one that is the first to do everything, because they're looking for a dog that is going to be engaging, one that's going to be busy and always higher energy than the average dog, because you having this dog doing work. Or if you're looking for a show dog, you may want something that's more relaxed. And it's really all about what your breeding program is aimed to produce. For example, with my program, our program is about the ideal dog, the ultimate companion, the most complete Boerboel that you can have. So yeah, that's what it is about, the ideal dog. And so let's move on to the next question. Yes. Next question was, so I could get a great quality male to stud out. Absolutely. You can build your whole entire breeding program around a high quality male. You got to be very careful with your selection, because that is going to stamp your program for generations to come. And you will see some many breeding programs are built around a high quality stud dog, but the females hold the value because they are the ones that are able to reproduce. The male dog's gonna make you famous. The female's gonna make you rich. So choosing the right mates. How do I keep the calluses from the elbows? I got some great questions. And we're gonna give up some good information. How do I keep the calluses off the elbows? I think that makes the dog look not cared for. I agree. That's one of the biggest things. That's why I'm considering, should I take Bagheera to the show? I love Bagheera. He's not my dog, though. He's got those calluses on his elbow. I don't like those calluses on the elbow. That comes from laying on hard surfaces, a surface that's not padded. So what I do for my dogs in the yard, because they like to lay in the cool, I bring in a lot of sand, and I bring in like maybe 20 tons of sand, 40 tons of, I would maybe get 20 tons of sand, and then I use the 304 crushed concrete. So you'll never see my dogs on like with those sores, because they're laying like a beach. And I always will make this comparison. Where would you rather live? In paradise on a beach, surrounded by sand, and or concrete, surrounded by concrete? That's like the prison or the projects. You don't nobody want to be there. That concrete drains you. It pulls the charger. It'll drain the battery, a charger battery. It'll drain the battery on your phone. Okay. So concrete does the same thing to the dog. It drains their joints. It pulls the energy. It's always cold. It pulls the energy. It makes the joints weak. It's just tough on the dog. So you want to keep your dog on soft surfaces. I like to use the sand. You can get sand for $60 a ton. The play sand, the silica sand, is real white. It cleans up easy. You put down 20 tons of the crushed concrete, over 40 tons, depending on the size of your yard, the space that you're trying to cover. You can tell the company the square footage and the cubic footage, and they'll tell you how much sand that you need to cover that, and then you just get a company with a machine to spread it. You maybe find someone. So you going to do that. Now your yard will never be muddy. Your dogs will never be dirty because you got drainage. The sand will drain. It'll automatically clean itself. So you don't have your yard. It won't smell like urine. It's going to look like a beach, not the penitentiary. But then your dog's going to lay out in the sand. They'll dig up themselves a nice cool spot to lay in the summer, and they don't have those calluses on their skin. So that's big game. But you know what? I don't mind sharing, because I hope that it'll help people with their dogs. I get so sick of seeing dogs with those sores on their arms and their elbows and their joints. It makes me feel sad for the dog, and because they don't have to be like that. A lot of people have the ideology that they're going to put the dog in a concrete pen, a 5x10, and they're going to live and survive like that, or a 10x10 on some concrete. And that's just tough on the dog. The bigger the dog, the tougher that it is on their paws and their joints, because there's no play in that concrete, and it's just hard, just like pressure on pressure. So you want to keep your dog on something soft. You're gonna have plenty of pads and beds, and the dog will preferably lay on that if you give them that opportunity. If you condition them that way from the beginning. Unfortunately, that dog wasn't conditioned that way. So, and a lot of times what happened is people get frustrated because the dog would tend to tear up the beds. They like them better tore up, where they customize them. I feel that's what I call it. So now this is something that I really like to talk about right here, because this is a great question. Richard Boerboel says, some say you should inbreed to lock in your bloodline. Now, that's something that you have to be very careful with. You have to really study these bloodlines intimately and get to know the pedigree, vertical and horizontal. So what I mean by that, vertical is brothers, sisters, cousins, siblings, and so on and so forth. Horizontal is grandparents, great grandparents, great 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 grandparents, great 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 grandparents. And so that's how you get to then. You will also study grand uncles. That's going vertical. Grand uncles, great grandmas, grand aunts, great grand aunts, great grand uncles, uncles, grandparents, grandmas, so on and so forth. That's studying the pedigree. Now, what you're going to be looking for is the reoccurring theme within the line. You're looking for what do you see that's being consistently reproduced from this common ancestor that you're line breeding on? Okay, so you may have a more recent ancestor that you're breeding on, but you have to study how is that particular ancestor bred. And what I mean by that is, what is the line bred ancestor made up of? And you got to study those. So because what you're going to do, you're going to definitely lock in these virtues. They have to be worth it. You got to be careful because you want to know they're also going to carry some defects. Those are going to be expressed. They may not come out on on the surface. It may be something that may materialize as a shortened lifespan or a long-term health defect. Or so you got to be very careful with the inbreeding. But if you're not quantifying dog abilities, and by that I mean you have to be measuring, the cardiovascular system, the circulatory system, all of these different systems, the eyes should be functioning at a high rate, a high level before you start to inbreed, because if they're not, you're going to get highly likely it's going to reproduce those defects. So you want to make sure that you got dogs that are valuable, that really are going to be great contributors to the breed, not just beautifully put together, masterfully crafted, but the dog has to be a performance. It has to be able to perform. You're looking for longevity. You want to have long lifespans in your program. You need health. You want healthy dogs, natural maters, natural breeders, natural whelpers. These are the type of things that you're going to champion within your line because there's longevity there. If you start going for just a big head or a big chest, that's very short-sighted, and you're going to lock in defects. It's a lot of different. Those are morphs or mutations when you have a dog with exaggerated features. So the exaggerated features also, you're going to lose qualities with those exaggerated features. So you want to kind of stay away from that. That's why we always looking for balance. If you notice with our program, we're always going to pair athletic, functional females with the larger, less stamina males. We want females that's got a higher drive. So we're trying to bring that balance where you got the scales tipped one direction and the other. We want to bring that more into equality. We notice with Balto, we're not looking for overly large females. We tend to breed him with the smaller varieties of females that's more tightly with their conformation, where Balto is got the exaggerated skin and the eyes, the wrinkled skin and the exaggerated chest and the exaggerated bone and the muscle, and all of those things are great. But when you start to double up on that and get it to the extremes where you're starting to produce entire litters of puppies like that, and that's heavily locked in, what you start to do is sacrifice it on the flip side. Some of the dogs' ability to run, some of the dogs' long stamina, some of the dogs' endurance. Okay, and then eventually you're gonna start shortening up the lifespan, because the dogs, when they have all of that excess weight, it lessens the ability to perform. For, like I said, you got to test the circulatory system, respiratory system, when the nervous system. When you have a dog of that size, and with those, then they bred real tightly and inbred, and you'll see that a lot inbreeding with. And it does have its place in breeding. So let me say that first. And the way that it's applied traditionally with livestock is you're going to breed towards a certain trait. You might have a cow that produces a lot of milk, and you're going to breed that cow you're going to use his puppies or his heifers or his calves. You're going to use the calves from that cow, and you're going to try to produce more cows that like him, the one that's breeding, the one that produced the most milk. And that's how we will measure the value. So you know whether this is a good cow or not, because it's producing more milk, and that gives the dog data that you can use. You might have a sheep, it's about how much wool. So you will line breed and inbreed onto those in effort to produce more wool. and then you're gonna measure and you're gonna see is this working or not. When you start to get into conformation dogs showing, you start to breed in these mutations. And that's where you have to be very careful because they don't add value to the dog. They don't add value to the performance. They don't add value to the function. So it's not being applied correctly. It's not based off of scientific method or like Mendelian genetics, where we're going to breed this in effort to produce more corn, or we're going to this variety. What they're trying to do is produce the dog that mimics what they consider to be the ideal based off of the visual representation of the breed. And that doesn't always hold true because what it looked like doesn't always mean that it's what add up to what it's capable of doing. So just like a bodybuilder gives you the impression that they may be the ultimate warrior, but they're not like a prize fighter. So looks can be deceiving. And just with that understood, it's all about, these different values. You want to see, you got to get an idea of what it is that you want to reproduce consistently before you start to line breed or inbreed. I prefer, my method is to, because we have the exotic line and we pretty much know what we're going to get from there. I like to go, and this was a shout out to my mentors. He always encouraged me to go out and seek out the best males to my females. And so that's what I've been doing lately, as for the last maybe 6-7 years, just taking my females to the best males what I perceive to be in the country. And because of that, and then I have established already the exotic bloodline. Now we're including these modern genetics, and we're getting this how we're producing these phenomenal dogs. And so I prefer to seek out my preferred type and then breed that to, and my dogs, my bloodline, my foundation line. And then from there, I'm going to select my preferred stock, which is the complete balanced Boerboel from head to toe, mind, body, and soul, mind, body, and spirit. So that was a great question. Thank you for that with your Boerboels. That's one of my, I've been asking about line breeding and inbreeding with the dogs for 17 years. I had to do a lot of studying on my own to get a great understanding. And it's something that, I've never quite understood. Well, I don't know if we'll ever completely understand because it doesn't always go the way it's planned. Mr. St. Pro says, thought it was females only. Females gonna be the cornerstone. Females gonna carry your bloodline. Okay, it's the females that's producing the males. So you gotta always think about what's behind your female, and you're gonna look at that bloodline. You gotta get intimate with it. You want to know, is this female's bloodline consisting of high-powered males, or is it consisting of high-powered females? How many puppies are they producing? Is it a very fertile line? What are you seeing? Where is it coming from? So you're going to look at both parents, the mom and the dad, and what do you see most in the puppies? And a lot of times, so you have to be careful with your females. People get the wrong impression because they want these she males, and that's a mutation. That's, if you look at the she males and the more masculine looking female dogs, look at their production record. Look at how the size of the litters. Look at, are they good mothers? And you will notice oftentimes they're going to have a smaller litter sizes, and they're going to have smaller litter sizes, less likely to be great mothers. And then they'll have reverse genetics. So you'll have some masculine looking females and you'll have feminine looking males. That's incorrect. You want to go with the feminine female that's got the very, she still has the Boerboel-like characteristics. So she's going to look powerful compared to other breeds, but she should still look feminine compared to a male Boerboel. She should not have this exaggerated appearance and with this really big compared to other Boerboel males. That's a fatal error that people tend to make. Bigger is not always better. Sometimes lesser is better. You got to know when to go with which battle you want to fight. So females, they do play a very important role. Make your selections carefully. Make your selections carefully. I had mistaken inbreeding. Yes. Inbreeding will lead to overnight experience. It's called inbreeding depression. And this is what we had to really be very careful with in our breed, because we only started off the breed with 80 dogs. And that was back in 1983. So you're talking about 40 years ago. You're talking about 41 years ago when this was established as a pure breed. And let's say a generation of puppies every year. So you got 40 generations out off of 80 dogs. The blood is getting tight. That's why I feel that the introduction of the black Boerboels into the breed was a beautiful thing. You cannot breed any species without having this inbreeding depression, and that's a scientific fact. Professional show dog breeders are going to argue this, but it's known and it's established that inbreeding does cause defects. It does cause inbreeding depression. It does cause lower fertility and lack of vigor in the bloodlines. So with our breed, that the state that it's in, 40 generations out from the establishment of the breed, from a very small population where we only using a small percentage of the dogs for breeding, what you end up having is a closely related gene pool. And we get into a point where we're breeding our dogs into a corner. And it's a dangerous situation. It's something that we have to strongly consider how we're going to address in the future. And with that being said, I'm going to leave y'all with that as a homework assignment for y'all to check and think on that. And that's something we can pick up that discussion next week when we get back. In the meantime, in between time, I hope everybody walked away with more than they came with and enjoyed this episode today, because we took time out. I appreciate y'all for coming, taking time out, share with me. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bells. So how it's tight to too tight when breeding. We're gonna check in with that. We'll pick up on that for next week. How tight is too tight when you start to see dogs falling off before they could really pick up and get going. But we're gonna pick up on that next week. In the meantime, in between time, y'all take care of yourself. Make sure you stay productive, inspired, and motivated. Don't never let your head get down. Always hold your head up high and do what you got to do. Make every day count. Make every minute matter, because you never know what could be your last day.
No rush, go on, move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love turn to peace and gloves. Now you got a deal run up. No rush, go on, move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love turn to peace and now you got a deal run up.